touch on today is that your whole team is a reflection of you. Your whole team is a reflection of you. That can be positive, that can be negative. I love this quote, man. Courage is contagious. And guess what? So is fear. Courage is contagious and fear is contagious. And really, it's a choice that we have as leaders to say, I need to make sure that I'm taken care of so that I'm passing along courage and not fear. And it's so easy to be the you know, oh my God, the chicken little, the sky is falling, this is crazy, how are we ever going to survive? Just let me encourage you to be careful with your words, guys. Be careful with your words. I live by a proverb, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and whoever loves it will eat of its fruit. Basically, what King Solomon is saying is, listen, if you want to speak negatively, that's the fruit you're going to get to eat. If you want to speak positively, that's the fruit you want to eat. So really, it's our decision is what kind of fruit do you want? What kind of fruit do you want to see in your team? So that's kind of the first point is a team is a reflection of its leaders. Um, I love this point. You don't ignore fear. You can acknowledge fear. Let me say that again. You don't need to ignore fear. You can acknowledge fear. You just don't want to feed fear. Does that make sense? You can acknowledge fear. You can say, hey guys, we're team meeting. Listen, I'm not trying to be Pollyanna here, but I'm also not saying the sky is falling. We can acknowledge fear, but we just don't need to feed fear. They're both contagious. You are the agents of calm. Now you might go, that's easy for you to say. You're living in Colorado at the base of Pikes Peak. Okay, well, sorry, not sorry. It is pretty easy to live here. The cool thing about being an agent of calm is that it takes practice. Now, let me give you a quick story. I worked in the construction world for about 10 years, running a machine called a concrete pumper. You guys have maybe seen them bouncing around Indianapolis or some of the big urban spaces and maybe even pumping a foundation of a house. Basically, it's a mobile crane. It has concrete moving through it. It's super loud, super scary, super expensive. And there's always tension on construction sites. If you want to work in the most anxious industry, it's probably construction. Now, I came up with a phrase that when our pump showed up, so this is like a 45-foot truck, you got the big outriggers that swing out, it looks really cool, you got to play with this remote control thing to move the booms around. And I would say, listen, guys, everything's going to be fine. They're running around like crazy. And here's the thing about concrete. It gets hard. No matter where it is, it's going to get hard. So when you have a lot of problems and it's in your truck and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I've got all this concrete in my truck, it's going to get hard. I got to get this stuff moving. I got to keep going. It's so easy to fall into the trap of anxiousness and fear. And I just determined that I'm going to be their agent of calm. And you say, well, how did you do that? Well, it's practice. It's not super science. It's simply practicing, being disciplined, saying, okay, I know the world looks like it's falling apart, team, but we are the agents of calm. And that's going to be resonated through every meeting, be the agent of calm. It was so adopted at this company I worked for, it got implemented into the principles and values. That's what we hang on to. I think Brock had mentioned that early in the meeting is remember our vision. Remember our vision. Yes, remember your vision and hang on to those principles and those values that keep you on course. So if I can just encourage you in that is you are the agent of calm. Practice this. When you want to go crazy and you want to, scream at somebody, yeah, you can't ignore that feeling. There's a place for that. Make sure that you're getting that self-care, like I said earlier, and whatever that looks like, right? Because again, if you're going to be an agent of calm, you have to be deposited into spaces of calm. So I don't know what you guys do that is your cathartic self-care. I love to cycle. So I got my little wooden bikes in the back. I got this really cool book for my birthday. It's so cool, you guys. Ride the Rockies. And it's really about cycling in Colorado. I know, sorry. I love to do that. It's my cathartic moment. It fuels me. So then I have something that is deposited inside of me that I can give. I can say to my team, hey, I know it looks like crazy. How do you herd 200 volunteers? How do you get them all on the same page? How do you make sure they're all in the same vision? How do you make sure? I mean, that's a lot of work for my captains, for my coaches. And we are always hanging on to our principles, and we are always agents of calm. I'm going to share a quick clip. Brock's got a clip of an older movie, and just kind of bounce off of that. Go ahead, Brock, when you can.
Can y'all see it? Now, can you see it? No? I can't hear anybody.
No, we can't see it, buddy.
Nope.
Lonnie, we had this set up, man. We were gonna nail this thing.
It's okay. If we can show it at the end, if you can get it, no big deal.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Hey, yeah, let me move on to point 2 here. And it's really what you and your team are doing is big. Keep that in mind. Let me just put it this way. What you and your teams are doing is bigger than fear. It's bigger than fear. It's bigger than the anxiousness. It's bigger than you can imagine. I love this quote from Corrie ten Boom. She says, worrying does not empty tomorrow of its troubles. It empties today of its strengths. Worrying does not empty tomorrow of its struggles, but it does empty today of its strengths. There's folks that are relying on you. They're, oh, well, there we go.
You want to go to it?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
There we go.
The permission to speak freely. Of course, Chief. This is the Navy, where a commanding officer is a mighty and terrible thing. A man to be feared and respected, all-knowing, all-powerful. Don't you dare say what you said to the boys back there again. I don't know. Those 3 words will kill a crew, dead as a depth charge. You're the skipper now. And the skipper always knows what to do, whether he does or not.
It's good. Basically, that just kind of reiterates the fact of, the agent of calm, right? You don't operate in fear. You don't operate in spreading the anxiousness and the worry, because what you want to do is you want to strengthen your team today. And worry is just robbing that strength of today. I love that scene. Harvey Keitel and Matthew McConaughey. You may know the story. He's in this sub, and he becomes a captain. He thinks he's kind of a cocky lieutenant, and there he is leading. And then he realizes leadership is not about what he thought it was about. Leadership was investing in his people. Leadership is investing in your people. This is the economy of people. Now, listen, I get it. There's bottom lines. There's goals we have to meet. There's paper we have to push. There's there's just, I get it. The medical world, especially today, and like it wasn't hard before. Now it's just become this, circus of rules and regulations and trying to do the right thing and making sure everybody feels comfortable. And man, I get it. Invest in your people. Those are important. But let me give you two things. There are the what's in business and leadership, and then there are the who's in business and leadership. And I want to encourage you guys today to make sure that you're investing in the who. There's plenty of time for what. We probably invest most of our time in the what. What needs to be done, what task has to be done, what schedule I've got to do, what hiring needs to be done, what firing needs to be done. There's also the time for who. Just keep that in mind as you're leading your teams, investing in the who. How are they going to respond to a situation? How are they going to respond to a crisis? They're probably going to respond the way that they've seen. That's how they're going to respond. If they came from an incredibly stressful, anxious, worrying family, you can almost guarantee that that's how they're going to respond as a leader. However, if we continually model, continually develop our leaders to say, we are the agents of calm. We are the captains almighty in the Navy. We are fierce and we are, all knowing, all powerful, right? Those are the types of things that man, folks can rally around. They're like, golly, I want to be around that. I want to be around that confidence. Now, listen, I know I've faked it sometimes. I'll just be honest with you. There's times, a lot of times, I don't know the answers to my team, but I always give them that sense of confidence and that sense of security, that sense of knowing that, yeah, he may not know, but man, he looks like he knows what he's doing, even though he doesn't. That's that inner confidence. It's that inner ability to say, look, guys, yeah, we might go into the unknown. I love this quote by Jonathan. He was the king's son way back in the early days of Israel. And Jonathan said, man, let's go attack those Israelites. Let's go start a fight, man. Let's go climb this cliff. Let's go. And his armor bearer is like, dude, do you think that's a good idea? It's just us two. He says, I really don't know, but perhaps God. Man, I don't know, but let's go give it a shot. Listen, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to take risks, especially when it comes to developing your team. The first one is, man, just be that agent of calm. Your team is a reflection of you. Secondly, what you and your team are doing is bigger than fear. Thirdly, don't get wrapped up in what is known and what is unknown. Define them. What is actually known and what is actually unknown? I'm going to give you some bullet points. What's known is the present. This is something I'm practicing in my own self-discipline, is being present. So I'm a huge Strength Finders guy. I know that I've talked about this a lot with you in conferences. My number 5 strength is futuristic. I'm always thinking of future. I'm thinking big. I'm thinking what's next. I'm thinking, let's go. Come on, team. Let's fire the rocket. Woohoo! The whole nutty, big vision guy, 30,000 feet. We're going to take over the world. And I've got blind spots because that's tends how I think. And I got to put people around me that see those blind spots that say, Lon, practice being in the present. Practice being in the present. Be here. Enjoy this moment. I also love to play golf. I mean, if you guys want to practice being in the moment, play golf. It forces you to stay in the moment. You got to forget about the shot you just did, and you can't think about what you're going to do next. It's just being in the moment, and it's just a great life discipline. Number 2 in this section is we're all in this together. Keep that in mind, man. This is a team. We are literally all in this together. Your team is with you. They're following you. They're strengthening you. They're encouraging you. This is what it's all about. Hey, this is a good one. This is not your first rodeo. Listen, have confidence in your leadership ability, have confidence in who you are, have confidence in the fact that you guys are leaders, that you've been chosen, that you've been put in this place for such a time as this. This is not your first rodeo. You got this. I mean, I don't know what you got to do. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, man, I got this. We got this. As you get together in these environments, man, just be that voice of encouragement. We got this, guys. We got this. This is, again, under what's known is our commitment and convictions. Let me just pause here for a minute. So I'm going through an exercise in this season of my life that really helps me define my values and my principles. I have a book. It's about this thick. It's at my office. It's Ray Dalio's Principles. He's got the #1 hedge fund in the United States, I think the world maybe. He's a multi-millionaire. And it's interesting that because he understood numbers as a young kid, he got into the stock market and he began to develop this company. And it is now the largest capital privately equity fund, in the world, I think, or in the United States anyway. Basically, his whole premise is we're going to run our company based on principles. Principles are everything in your life. And there's exercises that I think I'll do a follow-up email with your team, Brock, and just so you guys can be committed. I know you have your vision. I know you've got your values for TLC. But remember what we said. Are you investing in yourself? Do you have that self-care? Do you have those principles and those values dug deep inside of you? And it doesn't matter what the world is doing. It doesn't matter what's going on outside of you. Do you have those principles that you can grab onto? I got another quick story for you. So my wife and I love to hike, and we were going up this hike called St. Mary's Falls here in Colorado Springs. You got to drive through this canyon. It's mind-blowing. You see elk and bighorn sheep, and it's like, golly, did I just step back into a Western? This is amazing. The waterfalls. We drive up to where the trailhead starts. We do our hike, and I had remembered a gal that I work with had done a lot of hiking. She loves to hike, and she's telling me that when you get to the end of this trail, turn right. You got to do like a scramble, and you have to and it leads you to this really cool cabin up there that's all broken down. It's built in the 1800s. I'm like, heck yeah, man, sweet, I'm gonna do that. So we get to the falls, and it's a 7-mile hike. We got about 1,400 feet of elevation. We get to the falls, and I'm like, I don't see a trail. I mean, I don't see where does this lead? Well, she said, you had to scramble up these rocks. Now you got to imagine we're on a side of a mountain, and there's just rocks, right? And I'm like, okay, that's got to be it. So my wife and I just take off. We just go up this mountain, man. We're scrambling up these rocks, and the whole time my wife's going, I don't think this is the trail. I don't think this is right. Where are we going? And I'm like, who cares? This is awesome. Oh my God! I said, oh look, here's a piece of paper. Somebody's been here. Oh my gosh! The whole time there's no trail. I got my little phone app, and I've got all trails on there, and I'm trying to find the map, and I'm kind of lying to her. I'm like, yeah, babe, the main trail is just right up here. Literally, you guys, we walked 2 miles on the side of this mountain at about a 20-degree incline, just dying. I'm running out of water. It's hot. And all I could remember was there will be a trail that we will run into. There'll be a principle, a value that I know that even if I am not on the trail right now, if I keep going, I'm going to run into a trail. I'm going to run into those values and those principles that I know are true. And so these are the types of things that we need to develop as leaders is, what do I believe in? What are my values and principles? What guide me every single day? Finally, number 4, so we'll give you a quick review. Your team is a reflection of you. What you're doing is bigger than fear. Define what is actually known and unknown. I mean, we don't know the future. We don't know. Control what you can control, right? And finally, focus on what you can control. I love this quote here. It says, don't let uncertainty undermine you or your team's efforts. Stay on course, focus, and finish on what needs to be accomplished today. Focus on what you can control. Man, there are things that are out of your control, and it's okay to admit that. There are things like a pandemic, worldwide pandemic, first time in our lifetime we've ever dealt with anything like this. Can I just tell you guys, give yourself some grace? Give yourself some grace. No one's done this before. No one's been down this road before. No one's experienced this before. No one's done anything in any industry that has dealt with this before. So give yourself tons and tons of grace. There's so many things we cannot control, so many unknowns that we can't control. So listen, I'm just going to go back to that quote again. Worrying does not empty tomorrow of its troubles. It robs you of your strength today. Man, if we could just maybe that's the nugget for the takeaway today, is just, if I control what I can control, which is today, being present, being now, investing in my team, being in this embodiment of human economy. Listen, guys, bottom lines will follow you. Money will follow you. Your budgets will follow you. Hang on to your principles and your values. You're going to get lost on the side of a mountain. If you're like me, you might even get a little excited because you don't know where the hell you are. You'd be like, oh my God, this is so fun. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You will find the path because you are anchored into those principles and values. Let me just close with this. Be courageous and confident in your convictions. I kind of like the Old Testament a little bit in the Bible because it's got all these really crazy stories. And being a pastor for 12 years, it's kind of ingrained in you. You know, you're always going to these really cool stories. And I just remember one about God telling Joshua over and over and over and over, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous. Hang on to your convictions, my friends. It's what keeps you on course. Yes, there's time for exploration. Yes, there'll be time for exciting adventures that are totally unknown. And yes, there'll be expansions and risks to take. But man, I tell you, what will hold you together and what will strengthen you as a leader will be your convictions, those principles, those values. Hang on to that vision. Remember why you exist. Man, let me just encourage you again. You're the hands and feet of Jesus, man. You're doing eternal stuff. Think about that. Eternal impact. I don't know if we can rub that into our brain or not, but it's freaking eternal. It's never ends. So hopefully that encourages today just some quick thoughts just about how to stay encouraged, agents of calm, connected to your convictions, stay the course, and be the hands and feet of Jesus. I appreciate you guys.
Lonny, this is powerful, man. I really appreciate that. I'm getting some private messages here as well as some text messages, people just saying how good this is, really hitting a spot that, just kind of correcting mindsets. What's powerful about the spoken word is, and you mentioned it earlier, the power of the tongue can create life or death. And that tongue really can also create a mindset. And just by having the right words that come in, it's also another great passage of scripture I like. It says that the words of a wise man are like nails. And man, they go forth and they pierce hearts. You can build, you can construct with nails. And whenever a wise man speaks, there's a difference between a fool, and those words just fall down at your own toes. But the words of a wise man go out like nails, and just solid stuff. Hey, a couple questions we got that I just want to hit you with. Somebody wants to know, if they come out to Colorado, can they play golf with you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you'll hit the ball a mile. It's thin air.
No air.
You'll feel you'll feel like you're the best golfer on the planet because the ball will just sail another 50 yards further than you ever hit it in your life.
All right, so you live the majority of your life in Indiana, hot, muggy. I mean, the air is so thick you can drink it. And let's say you can normally hit the ball, 200, 220. You get out to Colorado. Now what are you going to hit it?
Probably 250, 260.
Come on, baby. I need an extra 40 yards for sure.
Come on. There's no lie.
All right. Oh, we got somebody. If y'all could stay muted. All right. Okay. Lonny, what are some of your morning routines that kind of help you get going? As far as to launch your day, what's your mindset to get after it? How do you master your mornings?
What a great question. First of all, I'm not a morning person by nature. I come alive in the evening. I mean, like most of my cycling rides are in the evening, 4 or 5 o'clock at night. And so I've just learned to sort of adopt that kind of rhythm and be okay with that, right? I'm just like, I would put so much guilt on myself, you guys, for not getting up at 5:30 and riding, 20 miles and going to work out and meditating, sitting in a sauna, drinking green tea, and, all before 7 o'clock. I'm like, golly, I just don't feel like I'm that kind of guy. Now, I will say this. So I've been on a health journey. I lost 63 pounds over the last year and a half. Part of what I had to do is get up early in the morning and start my night. I know it sounds so simple. I drank 32 ounces of water, but I had to get up earlier because that was part of the kind of the kick-starting of my day, right? Now it's easier for me to get up around 6 o'clock. I go immediately downstairs. I drink my water. I get my body started, and then I make breakfast. I have to make breakfast every morning. And then I kind of just have quiet time. Now, a lot of times for me, if I can start my day just sort of quiet and have some meditation time, a meditation is big for me right now. I'll sit outside on my patio, be looking at Pikes Peak, and I just sort of center myself in the morning. Does that make sense? I don't have the phone on. It's so easy to want to go check emails from last night from India, or see what happened, in digital world, or see what's going on Twitter, see what's going on Facebook, and what kind of content can I create today? What came in, who complained, who left, right? All those things. And that'll come. But man, guys, you've got to be able to say, I need a space where I can just center. So that's my routine in the morning, guys. Now, I know it's nothing revelatory probably, and you probably heard it 100 times, right? Don't have any electronics on, have it quiet, just connect with the Father in the morning, connect with yourself in the morning, and really that's it. Meditate, be centered, be present. It's hard for me, you guys. It's not easy. I'm not that person. I want to crack open my laptop. I want to find out what's going on. I want to know where we're going. And it's a discipline. It's hard. This is why these things, I'm going to use a different word than I usually normally use. Today, I'm going to say, this is why your strengths have to be cultivated. It's a cultivation. You're plowing, you're seeding, you're watering, you're plowing, you're seeding, you're cultivating the disciplines in your life. I used to say practice them. And practice seems a little shallow, honestly. You guys, we're Hoosiers, right? We understand cultivation. We get farming. We see the soil. We see the tractors. We see the time. For eons, the dirt has been producing fruit because it's constantly cultivated. So that's what I would say to that, bro.
That's good. One of the lines that you said, as leaders, you're called to be the agent of calm. So let me just paint a scenario. Administrators come walking in, 15 people have called off. You've got 20 positive cases of corona. You're way undermanned. You're feeling overwhelmed. You got friction between your DON, with your director of nursing and some of the line staff. We don't got enough enough hands to bring trays out. And by the way, nobody's going to dining because everybody's got to stay in the room. So now we got to hand deliver every meal. And the you-know-what hit the fan. And so now you're going to be the agent of calm. How do you respond when the heat is on?
Yeah, first thing I would say is you got to be ready way before that happens. That's something that you've cultivated way before that day happens. If you're going to try to cultivate the agent of calm in that, and it's like your first time, it won't work. This is something this has got to be molded and cultivated, and this has to be taken care of way before that day happens. Now, the short answer for in that situation, and now what my mentor and myself would say is solve the problem by working the problem. Don't make it worse by guessing. What is known? Solve the problem by working the problem. What is known? Don't get worried about the what ifs. Well, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? What if, that is just robbing you of strength today. Work what you know. Work the problem. Gosh, I love one of my favorite movies. I'm such a movie guy, and it's a lot of my leadership principles come from little quotes that I grab out of movies. And one of them was Ed Harris in Apollo 13, and he's trying to save astronauts that are flying to the moon, right? Everything goes wrong. You guys know the story, and I just remember him saying, "Work the problem, people. Don't make it worse by guessing. Work the problem." It's just a great principle. So being an agent of calm, I would say start today, because in a month, something may hit the fan and you'll have all the toilet paper you need.
That's good, man. That's so good. Hey, any other questions out there that you might have for Lonny? Go ahead and jump on and voice those now. All right. Well, Lonny, I appreciate it, man. You are bringing some good perspective for us. This was the right word. There's a proverb that I love that it says, the word that is spoken at the right time is like golden apples in settings of silver. And man, I just feel like we got served on a silver platter today, some rich and gold apples for us, just to kind of help our mindset and perspective as we're truly, like what you said, ministering to people and doing some great ministry. It's the highest calling, I think, on the planet, is serving our elders, our widows, is what James 1 would say, is that we're serving our widows and our orphans. It's the highest level, y'all. One more question just came in, Lonny. What are some book recommendations you got on leadership and culture?
Oh, man. All right, now we're
hit us, baby.
Yeah, come on, Jesus.
Hey, real quick, BTW, the first half of the game of 2020, so the first 6 months, how many books had you already read?
35.
35 books. So he is about a book every 5 days. This guy is just getting after it. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah. When it comes to culture, the first recommendation is a book called An Everyone Culture, becoming a deliberately developing organization. It's a Harvard Business Review book written by some really smart people that interviewed some really cool businesses. One of the businesses is called Next Jump. It's called a DDO. So if you went on Twitter and you searched hashtag DDO, it's called a deliberately developmental organization. So, man, guys, culture is my sweet spot. I feel like if we can get our company cultures right, we can change the world. And I don't say that lightly. I really believe that. We spend most of our time in a company. We spend most of our talents in our companies. We spend most of our talents with the people that are in our companies. So doesn't it make sense that we develop a strong, healthy culture that literally can change marriages, change parenting, change the world simply by having a healthy culture. So that would be my first recommendation, guys, is developing it's called an everyone culture, developing a deliberately developmental organization. So good. And that's how I got introduced to, that's a good book too. Yeah, so let's just talk to that. Prime to Perform, Neil Doshi and his wife wrote that. I read it twice. It's got some really practical advice and counsel about the 3 pivot laws and the laws of inertia that come against the positive things in your company. And those are things that you guys can really glean from. It's honestly a pretty easy read. It's a little thick, but it's got some really, really amazing principles in it. Primed to Perform by Neil Doshi. Another great one, Ideal Team Player. I'm a Patrick Lencioni fan. If you guys just go to the table group, he has tons and tons of resources that are available for leadership, for culture. Ideal Team Player talks about the 3 most important things. It's humble, hungry, and smart. You got to be humble, you got to be hungry, and you got to be smart. Not necessarily mind smart as much as emotionally intelligent. So that leads me to my next book. It would be Susan David, Emotional Agility. So good. Man, I wish they would teach this to our kiddos in junior high, is understanding emotional agility, emotional intelligence.
That is the game.
Travis Bradberry is another great guy you might want to check out, does a lot of global leadership summit stuff, talks about emotional intelligence. He calls it EQ, has some really good resources out there. And really what this helps me do, first of all, these are things that I deposit in me, and then it helps my team grow, because then when we communicate, I understand where they're coming from. I understand the language they're speaking, and so I can understand where they're coming from in an emotional, intelligent way. So, yeah, that's another. I mean, there's thousands of books written on culture. These are just the ones that influence me the most. And then, I would say, I'm reading Ray Dalio's Principles. Now, just caveat, he's not a believer, but man, he's got some freaking kingdom stuff packed in his life that I don't even know if he knows. It's just so good. My God, I got an app on my phone, y'all, and it's this like Principles app. And that is one thing. Oh, I forgot to say that, Jeff. One of the things I do in the morning is I look at that principle app. And I look at that and I'm like, hey, what are the principles? Can I apply this to my life? Does it apply? Maybe not now, but maybe later. Maybe it did, and not now. Those are huge. So Ray Dalio, he's actually a featured company in the first book, in Everyone Culture. So it's kind of like all these guys are connected. Oh my God, I would say Crucial Conversations. Listen, okay, get that book, y'all. Get Crucial Conversations. It is one of, hang on. This is it. If you're going to be a leader, you need to get this book. This talks about having the crucial conversations, having the hard conversations, but doing it in a life-giving way. There's case studies in here. Again, it's not that thick, simple read. Man, I tell you, this would be a great investment for your team, Brock. If this would, anyway, I won't say any more about that, but Crucial Conversations. Good, I know I'm running late on time, but there's another one. It's called, I just jumped out of my head. Kim Scott wrote it. Kim Ball Scott. Got so many books bouncing around. So look up that author. She was a 5'2" girl from Tennessee that went and took on the big boys at Facebook and Google. And she wrote a great book about having conversations as well.
Great.
I just can't remember the name of it.
That's the area where you come alive right there, man, on being a leader that's a reader, and especially culture stuff. Lonny, man, what a rich time. Hey guys, I appreciate everybody hopping on. We couldn't give you a full day retreat, but we thought we could give you about 50 minutes here. And so hope it was life-giving and that it's been something that fires you up. We're looking forward to another one. Jeff Seagrave, he was a speaker that we had last year. He's going to be coming to us on September. We'll have an invitation sent out for a Zoom call as well. I appreciate everybody that's on the phone. You guys might be traveling with different places going on in your day. Thanks for making it a priority to hop on. Lonny, again, always a pleasure and a rich time. Thank you guys again for signing on. Hey, we'll see you guys.
Yeah. Appreciate you all. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.